Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. We sometimes talk about human development and the development of children in particular as if it were a tidy process taking place along a single line parallel with the passage of time. We call this line of development maturity or normal development, and we measure children against statistical averages to figure out if they're on track. I talked about emotional maturity specifically in episode 40, but what I didn't mention is that that is just one line of many in your child's and your own personal growth. Today I want to talk about the concept of lines of development because I find the idea of multiple lines helpful in understanding ourselves and others. The more we understand, the more room we have for compassionate and more accurate interpretations of human behavior, including estrangement. The first thing to say might be that development is not just for children or young people. You and I are still developing today, even if that process is no longer as dramatic or as visible as it was when we were children. The process itself never stops. We are growing and changing. Lines of development are related to the idea of multiple intelligences and other theories of human development. I'll put some links in the show notes in case you want to explore beyond the overview that I'm offering today. And to be clear, this is my understanding of lines of development, but I'm not a scholar of this topic, so do look into it on your own if you're interested. Lines of development are essentially different areas of human functioning. For example, intellectual or cognitive, spiritual, social, emotional, physical. Those are just a few of the obvious ones. There are countless different ways in which we function in the world, of course. And maybe the most important thing to know is that different areas can develop at different rates, even in the same person. It's not uncommon to meet people, for example, with well-developed intellectual ability who seem to struggle when it comes to managing emotions. Other people may have tremendous physical skills, but poor interpersonal ones, like a powerful athlete with great hand-eye coordination, but very little ability to make small talk. The state of any given line of development or area of functioning can range all the way from underdeveloped to highly developed. We all fall somewhere on that continuum for each area. Everything about you that can grow and change can be thought of as its own line of development. Your dress sense or your taste in visual art may be part of an aesthetic line of development. As your appreciation for what's beautiful develops over time, your tastes are likely to change. Your vocabulary is part of a linguistic line of development that grows as you learn new words or a new language. When you think about what you're good at or that you love doing, you might find there's a line or two of development in there in which you are more developed than average. On the flip side, areas in which you often feel like you're struggling may point to lines of development that need more attention in order to progress. We can visualize our development as a bar chart with hundreds of bars or lines standing next to each other, each one representing a certain area of functioning. Along the bottom of the chart, the lines are labeled physical, musical, intellectual, and so on. And what you see in the chart is that the lines are all at different heights. Over time, the appearance of the chart changes as the heights of the various lines or bars change at varying rates. That's what lines of development look like on paper. What we see of development in the real world is people who are highly developed at some things, not so developed at others, and average at most, and constantly, though maybe imperceptibly, changing. No one is fully developed in every possible way. and no one's development is unchanging. As long as we're alive, the chart of our personal development lines will continue to change, and so will we. The fact that we can have within us both highly developed and underdeveloped areas side by side may come as both a surprise and a relief. We don't have to be highly developed in every area of functioning just because we're adults. It's normal to have differing lengths in lines of development. Some, again, may be very tall, others may be quite short, but most of our lines will be somewhere in between. If we have lines of development that are lagging, we can give them our attention and nurture them to grow. There are so many ways to cultivate and hone our abilities, whether physical, emotional, spiritual, or whatever it is. Once we realize we're not completely high-functioning or completely dysfunctional in every way, we can focus on either our strengths or our weaknesses depending on the needs of the moment. Just like you and I, your estranged adult child or children have multiple lines of development, and their profile is unique to them. It may help to appreciate that their proficiency with language, for example, doesn't necessarily carry over to their emotional intelligence, or vice versa. They're not at just one stage of development. Rather, they carry in their toolbox an assortment of aptitudes and deficiencies that they employ in equal measure. All of us do that. We have no choice but to be where we are at any given time along every line of development. But remember that lines of development are lines. They're not dots or circles. They're actually vectors, with the arrows always pointing toward progress. Some may grow longer or faster than others, but as Samuel Johnson said, the business of life is to go forward. And so it would seem. I hope this very brief excursion into the concept of lines of development has convinced you that both you and your estranged adult child or children are not just one thing, but rather a complex collection of developing skills and knowledge. It's just another reminder of our shared humanity, our imperfection, and our need for grace. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.